Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. This is Tanisha with SheCraftsToo, and today I am here to share with you guys how I go about making my chunky ribbon tassel. And what you guys are seeing here is this is some twine that I've added some beads to it, and I just put knots on either side of the bead in order to hold it in place and keep it stationary. And then I also added some of the tiny heart beads that come from Joann's. And I believe I got these about a year ago from Joann's when they were on clearance, and I just added them to this crochet thread. And I'm gonna use these today because I want to see how they work out on the tassel. I thought that it would be fun to add some additional layers and something different and something just a little bit more fun and unique. And this one I initially came up with because I had some pom-pom trim, and I was just looking at the balls from the pom-pom trim, and I had the beads sitting on my desk. So I was like, well, I wonder how it would look if, if I add some beads to one of the trims that are added to the tassel. So we're gonna see how it works out. And yeah, so we're gonna set those over to the side. And right now I'm just gonna show you the trim that I have cut and pulled out to use. And what I will say, yesterday I did have a video that I had uploaded and was getting, well, it did go live, and I wasn't necessarily ready for it to go live. So some of you ladies had a chance to see the video that I posted yesterday. And this will be the same, pretty much the same video. You'll just see some different trim that are being used. And I decided to not go with the video that I used yesterday just because I wanted to use more color. So I took it apart, and you will see some familiar pieces again, and that's for the ladies who had, or for you all who had a chance to see it yesterday. But here we go. So we have the sequins trim here, which I didn't have yesterday. We have this pink pom-pom trim. I don't know what all of these, excuse me. We have a darker pink trim. We have a curled ribbon, which I use my wooden dowel to create. And I will link my video below that shows how to go about curling your trim if you'd like to curl it and you haven't seen it. And we have this ribbon, and it's a thicker ribbon. This one's probably about 1 1/4 maybe, or maybe, well, no, maybe it's 1 inch. But it has like some threaded texture, and I really like this. I believe I received that one from a basket. I believe it was on a basket that I received a few years ago, and I just held on to it because I really liked it. We have that was a thin foiled gold ribbon or trim. And then we have this lace trim. We have this gold sequin trim. We have this kind of peachy pom-pom trim. And normally I don't layer these all together, guys. I normally just kind of hold them in my hand and cut off what I need from my stash or from my supply, and just hold them in my hand and organize them that way. But I'm laying them out just so you guys can see the texture. You can see the texture and the prints that I have used, and you can see a little bit of glue on this one. And that's okay, it'll be covered up because it's in the center, so it'll be covered up again. But that glue was from yesterday, the one that I disassembled. And we have this glitter gold, a pink, some darker pink trim, let me see, we have a pearl trim. We have this white with gold polka dot. We have this iridescent kind of pink one. We have this tassel trim, which I really like. It's one of my favorite trims. We have this pom-pom. And we have this, which is a Maggie Holmes. And then we have this one, which is, you can't really see it on the camera. I don't think the camera is picking it up, but it has some iridescent sheens to it, and it's a really light soft pink. And then we also have this glittery yellow. So what I do is gather them all together like this. And normally what I'll do is I'll find, like, I'll add the one that I want on the top and the one that I want to show the most, which I definitely want this swan one to show. And then we're going to go ahead and add our beaded cords back to it, or to the mix. And they may actually end up getting lost in the midst of these, we'll see, but I really like just having this dimension here with it. And like I say, it's just something different, and when you're looking through it and you find like those little surprises, those are the kind of things that I enjoy when I'm finding inspiration in the things that I have around me. Just being able to look at those, at things like that, like layered pieces that, and I try to make them so that you can see them, but we'll see. So like this one is flipped upside down. So I want to flip it so that it's showing, so that the design is on the side where it's going to show. And what we're going to do here is, let me see. I'll leave that there for a second. Let me cut some twine. So I have this pink twine, and I'm going to make it long enough for me to be able to blend it into the tassel. And I'm also going to use this teal. No, this is not teal. This is more like a mint green. And I'm going to make this one long enough as well for me to be able to blend it into the tassel. So we have these two, and I'm going to do the pink one. I'm going to do the pink one at the top. No, I'm going to do this one at the top because I think it'll show it better. Okay, so put this one, I'm going to have this towards the top as well, so that it's showing pretty good too. So all we're doing is gathering these. We are gathering them, and I'm going to take my twine and wrap it around. Now, it's important before you make this tight that you take a peek, take a look at your trims, and make sure that all of them are even, or as even as possible on both sides. They don't have to be perfect, but just making sure that they about match and that they are the length that you want them to be on both sides. If you want one to be longer on one side than the other, then, you know, that's your prerogative. You do what makes you feel good and what makes you smile with it. And let's see, just want to make sure that all of your ribbon are facing the direction that you want them to face. So for instance, I'm looking at this yellow one, and it's pretty much facing, it'll be upside down. I don't want that, so I'm going to flip it over so that it is right side up, and then we'll flip it back over and wrap it around. And now I can make it tighter. And I like to wrap it around 2 to 3 times, and that just allows for me to be able to pull it and make it as secured as possible. So you can see it getting tighter, pulling it tighter, and since they're all on the right side and I have them facing how I want them to, I am going to go ahead and tie it tight and knot it. And then I just lay them inside of the tassel. So they're secured inside of the tassel. They become a part of the tassel. You don't have to worry about cutting or snipping or anything like that, because it blends right in with the tassel, with the rest of the tassel. So like this. And I'll just check it one more time to make sure, because they're not glued down or anything, so they could shift while you're tying. And this just keeps you from having to cut, you know, lose trim and cut trim, and it gets it pretty even while it's like this, okay? So this is what it looks like. You can see our beads poking through, especially our chunky beads. They are poking through. And I'll have to find our little babies and pull them forward. Let's see. I'm gonna pull them forward so that they're closer to the front. And hopefully you'll be able to see them better when they're secured. You'll see them when it's all pulled together. That's the goal. Okay, so we have that. And all we're gonna do now is secure the tassel. And the way that we do that is I usually lay that down flat. And I'm gonna cross it over. Cross it over. And I know you guys are like, oh my God, but wait a minute, it looks crazy at the top. It is, okay. We're gonna pull it. And so this is also where it's important to, make sure that you are, because this is going to be the front of our tassel, right, where we put our bow. So any bows that you have that have a unique orientation where they need to be facing up or facing a certain way, this is where it's important to pay attention to that, because you could very easily end up, and I'll flip some of these because some of them get they get twisted, and I just flip them over. And once you secure this, once you secure the twine here, it's not going to move. It'll be flipped over and it won't go back. But let's see, just going through and pulling these so that it's an even flow. And if you guys don't want to go through doing this, you can actually just let the twine, loosen this twine, or take it apart and just rewrap it. And you don't have to do this part of it. For me, it just kind of depends on how chunky these are as to how much fighting I want to do with it. And also, it depends on how many of them are wayward as to whether or not I'll take it back apart and start over. So, a lot of these trims are thicker, so your ball here is going to be a little bit bigger, and that's okay. It's okay. It almost reminds you of like a crown. So what I'm going to do is, and I want to make sure that this stays in the right direction, in the direction that I want it to be. So I'm going to make sure that this part is the front of my tassel, okay? And I want to make my knot here in the front because I want the back of it, which looks like this. I want the back of it to stay. I want the back to stay with the twine as neat as possible. I don't want to have knots in the back. So with this knot in the front, I can cover it up with my bow, which is exactly what we're going to do. So we have that there. And again, if you don't like it as chunky, you don't have to add as many ribbon, or you can keep all of your ribbon on the smaller size, so you can keep them at a 1/4 or at a quarter. You can use the quarter size, I believe it's quarter size ribbon, so you don't have to use anything that's a 1 inch, because the 1 inch is definitely going to create a more bulky presentation. I don't mind the bulk. I like the chunk. That's what adds to the chunk. But you can use whatever trims that you want. And it's a lot of fun. You're going to have fun with it either way. So what I'm showing you guys here is my, I have my jump ring as well as my lobster clasp. And this is a thicker jump ring. And I like to use the thicker ones with, this particular project because, or with the tassel, with the chunkiness of this tassel, because it's a lot more secure. And I would worry that the more thin the more, because it's so chunky, I would worry that the more thin jump rings would lose their shape and not be able to hold. And it's not super heavy, but it does have some weight and it's gonna hang. So I don't know, it probably will be okay, but just in my mind, I have these chunkier ones. So let me go back in frame so you guys can see. So all I did was slide the jump ring under these wraps, under the 3 wraps that we did. I just slide the jump ring under it to secure it through there and make sure that it's not going to fall off, and it's also thick enough that I can wrap this around like this. I just twist it and it's going to hang out under that twine. Okay, so that's that. That is that. And I didn't burn them and secure them. I will later on, just because I wanted to make sure that all of the sizes, that the lengths were matching and that they were equal, because if they're not, then I'll go ahead and trim them so that they are. So I didn't burn the edges. So I'll do that later after I make sure that everything is the length I want it to be. Okay, so now we're just going to add our bow, our chunky bow to the front. Okay, I'm going to hot glue it down. Got my glue on there, and we're going to hot glue it down. And I want to make sure that I sit it on that bow, on that knot. I also want to make sure that this loop and the bow are parallel to each other, so I don't have the bow off over here and the loop over here. So I'm trying to make sure that they're running next to each other. Maybe, let's see. Okay, and I'll press it down, let it cool off so that it can secure itself there. And yep, okay. So this is our chunky tassel, and it's super juicy, guys. I absolutely love it. You got a lot of fun happening down here. It actually reminds me of the Michael's trim. Like if you just took that trim and folded it over and just created a tassel with it, because it's a lot of different textures going on here, and it's just a lot of fun. I really like it. I like these little beads being in here. Just little fun touches to it. But yeah, this is our chunky tassel, and I hope you guys give it a try. I hope that you guys have fun making it if you do give it a try, and I will see you guys next time. Until then, take care, guys.